This is Mick Moloney here in Bangkok, Thailand, and I'm delighted to welcome you to our concert, Infinite Hope. And the name is actually taken from a Martin Luther King quote: "We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope." So over the next 2 hours, you will be hearing and seeing performances from some of the finest Irish traditional musicians, singers and dancers in the United States and in Ireland, and indeed beyond as well. Well, the question might be, why a concert? Well, in every protest movement I know about or have ever been involved in, the arts have played a prominent role. Every oppressive regime I have heard of has a history of silencing, jailing, and sometimes executing its artists. And artists everywhere have a long history of speaking up when others choose to stay silent. There is nothing, of course, inherently political about singing a song or playing a reel or a jig and doing a dance, but when Irish and Irish-American artists come together in common cause to protest injustice and oppression, then that collectively is a loud and public shout out for human rights, dignity, and social justice for all our people in the United States of America and across the world at this time, particularly those who have been oppressed and marginalized, and yes, terrorized often on a daily basis. And why our music, song and dance? Well, these arts might enjoy a measure of privilege in today's world, but historically they came out of hard times. We Irish at home were colonized for many centuries and denied basic human rights, including the right to vote for most of that time. And at various times in our history, our music, song, dance, and poetry were banned from public performance or dissemination, often under penalty of death. We were forced to emigrate by poverty, famine, and persecution. And then, in our new home across the Atlantic Ocean, we often found ourselves very unwelcome visitors. So while we can never even begin to understand the horrors of black slavery, we can and should identify with suffering and bigotry, and also with the resilience and sense of purpose that can bring us beyond suffering to a better place in our society. So today, we stand shoulder to shoulder through our art with our oppressed black and brown brothers and sisters, and indeed fellow relatives, and I'm not just speaking metaphorically. My fellow colleague, fellow artist, and I would say blood brother, Leni Sloan, who will essentially be co-hosting this concert with me, drew my attention some decades ago to an extraordinary statistic that most Americans are not even aware of. It's the Harvard University study that cited the fact that 38% of African Americans have Irish DNA. 38%. Both Michelle and Barack Obama, just to take two prominent Americans, belong in that remarkable number. And then that begs the question, if 38% of African Americans have Irish DNA, then how many Irish Americans have African American DNA? In one sense, that does not matter, because we are all human beings and should enjoy equality and the same opportunities and rights. There is no room in our society, in our world, for racism or bigotry, none whatever. We begin our concert with a newly composed song written and performed by one of the most brilliant musicians and singers of our time, John Doyle, originally from Dublin, currently living in Asheville, North Carolina. So let the revels of solidarity begin.
The fascists, they're coming, their hate will scorch the land. They'll steal in with a whisper and soon force their demands. When I was young and full of fun, I never dreamed I'd see the day that democracy would be flaunted, abused and thrown away. So stand up and be counted, rise up and be strong. Together we will win the day, divided now we'll fall. Stand up and be counted, rise up and be strong. Together we will win the day, divided now we'll fall. Divided now we'll fall. A thin line divides us between peace and hostility. Some crave fame and power, the road to insanity. Well, just think about our children and what world will they see? A land of peace and plenty, or wars and brutality? So stand up and be counted, rise up and be strong. Together we will win the day, divided now we'll fall. Stand up and be counted, rise up and be strong. Together we will win the day, divided now we'll fall. Divided now we'll fall. Oh, there's a world of riches for everyone to share. It's not just for those fat cats, but people everywhere. Some may smile and shake your hand and tell you that they care, but the other hand's in your pocket, robbing you of your share. So it's stand up and be counted, rise up and be strong. Together we will win the day, divided now we'll fall. Stand up and be counted, rise up and be strong. Together we will win the day, divided now we'll fall. Divided now we'll fall. Well, they'd like us to call them masters or call them kings and queens, but they're just liars and racists, con men and petty thieves. Oh, hard times are a-comin', fascism's on the rise. Compassion is their enemy, there's hatred in their eyes. But unity will win the day. If we stick together, we'll be strong. We won't let hate defeat us, let's choose right over wrong. So stand up and be counted, rise up and be strong. Together we will win the day, divided now we'll fall. Stand up and be counted, rise up and be strong. Together we will win the day, divided now we'll fall. Divided now we'll fall.
So, hello to the world. I'm Leni Sloan. I'm here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, in the United States of America, and I want to say hello, Godspeed, and send solidarity to our friends around the world, around the globe, and especially in Ireland. I'm a board member of the African American Diaspora Network. I am the great-grandchild of Thomas Moore Sr. from Kilkenny, who was born in 1826 in Kilkenny and who sailed to America with his wife in 1846 to New York City. He was a political renegade, and he headed off to Minneapolis and St. Paul, where he had a son in 1861, my great-grandfather. Now, Minneapolis is the place where George Floyd was murdered, and so it's an irony that my history connects with that place. He, my great-great-grandfather, joined the first Minneapolis volunteer soldiers in the Civil War years of 1863, and he was shipped off to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, which is about 30 minutes from where I'm sitting now. He was in the Battle of Gettysburg. Shortly after that, the first Minneapolis, which was an all-Irish brigade, was sent to New York City to put down the riots between the Irish and the black community, better known as the draft riots. And so he fought for the Union to end slavery, and then he went to New York, much like the militias that we find in our streets in New York tonight, to put down the revolt and the rebellion. There's lots of ironies. Another irony was that George, in his death and with his last breath, cried out to his mother, using his mother's name, "Mama, Mama." And it still burns in my mind that the image that his mother would be reaching out to him to lift him from that pain of his last breath. And so I wanted to share this poem to you by Langston Hughes. It's called Mother to Son. And it's to all the sons all around the world who are out in the street tonight protesting for equity, parity, and inclusion. And it's from all the mothers who are telling them not to give up. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stairs. It's been hard tacks and splinters and boards torn up and places where there was no carpet, where the floor was bare, but all the time I've been a climbing and a reaching and turning corners and sometimes going into the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps. Don't you give up 'cause you can't find a place to rest and you find it hard. 'Cause, honey, I's still climbing. And life, for me, ain't been no crystal stairs.
Hi folks, how you going? My name is Karen Casey and I was delighted to be asked to be involved in this project showing solidarity with the black community in America. This is a song called Freedom Never Falls from the Skies. This buffoon, he came down from his tower, well, he struts his stuff, yeah, he loves his power and sucks all the air from every room. He takes the shine from the silver and he speaks too soon. And his voice, it goes boom, boom, boom. He keeps nothing in store with his quest for more. On the White House lawn fattens the golden calf. He lines the ice pockets of his chiefs of staff and his corporate friends down on K Street. They make sure to take him to the meet and greet with a silver spoon in his mouth. He thinks it gives him the right to shout and shout. He can hide behind the desk, he can hide behind the suit, he can hide all the bodies, he can count all the loot. Freedom never falls from the skies, like the ark of truth, let it rise. Freedom never falls from the skies. Let's keep our eyes on the prize. And his hair is like a blackbird's beak, and at the weekend he just tweets and tweets. He tells us all to go out in the sun. He tells us all to go and have some fun, to drink Lysol and hydroxychloroquine, and in our hour of need all he talks of is his greed. He keeps his friends in their high places, and they hide behind their corporate faces. Freedom never falls from the skies like the ark of truth, let it rise. Freedom never falls from the skies. Let's keep our eyes on the prize. Trump and Jim Crow, well, they're best friends now. They hold hands and walk down the street together in Sunnyside near New York town. Well, there's a woman there who can bring him down. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is her name, and hey, why don't we vote for her instead? Freedom never falls from the skies like the ark of truth, let it rise. Freedom never falls from the skies. Let's keep our eyes on the prize.
Hi, this is Tim Britton coming to you from Fairfield, Iowa, playing in solidarity with the Black Lives Movement. As Irish musicians, we have a wonderful opportunity to connect with each other on a level that transcends the struggle and strife that so many of us face on a daily basis. Certainly Irish music has played this role for millennia in rather adverse conditions. And I'd like to play you a couple of very old piping jigs, and these two are marches. And it's always struck me as interesting that a lot of the old marches are these beautiful, mellifluous, sweet jigs. And I always have this image of people marching in this beautiful spring day, and somehow, even though there's this concerted effort, there's also a sense of joy in life on a very basic level that goes beyond all the rest of it. So the first one of these is called Alstrom's March, and the second one is called the March of the Maguires.
This is Robbie O'Connell in County Waterford in Ireland, and this is a song I wrote back in 1990 called The Winning Side. Another hour has passed away, another slowly turning moment of another endless day. Nothing's changed at all. He still walks from wall to wall. And every year that passes by will be one less year for living when he finally steps outside. A heavy price to pay to waste your life away. Ah, but justice is a fickle thing. One law for the common man, another for the king. And don't you know when kings can't win the game, it won't be long till all the rules have changed, and it's all justified when you're on the winning side. Who stands in jail today who will become tomorrow's leader. That's how history often plays. Price it's understood, sometimes paid in blood. When the battle lines are drawn, who can foretell who'll be the one to play the king or play the pawn? Bear the blame in such a deadly game. Ah, but justice is a fickle thing. One law for the common man, another for the king. And don't you know when kings can't win the game, it won't be long till all the rules are changed, and it's all justified when you're on the winning side. Even one day is too much time to be held without a charge, to be condemned without a crime. Cruel irony in the land of liberty. When it comes to human rights, why is it always in some foreign land we choose to stand and fight? When will we realize what's right before our eyes? Ah, but justice is a fickle thing. One law for the common man, another for the king. And don't you know when kings can't win the game, it won't be long till all the rules have changed, and it's all justified when you're on the winning side. It's all justified when you're on the winning side.
Hi, I'm Niall O'Leary and I'm here in Dublin, Ireland, where it's a little bit cloudy, a little bit overcast, but we're used to that. But I'm here today with an important message for all of you. But the message does not contain the word all. Black Lives Matter.
I'm Liz Carroll, and I'm in Chicago. Peace.
Hello, I'm Jerry Timlin coming to you from Bethany Beach, Delaware, and I'm humbled to be part of this concert. Having grown up in Northern Ireland, I've seen discrimination, abuse of power, and social injustice firsthand. This must stop. And so, in solidarity with our black and brown brothers and sisters, I'm going to sing you a beautiful song written by Scotsman Alan Bell, A Parting Glass. When first we met, complete awkward strangers, we did not know if we could be friends. How soon we've come for to know each each other, and now I know we will meet again. So here's to you and our time together. I'll share with you a parting glass, and I'll bid adieu with some smiles and laughter. Our time apart will be short and past. We've talked of dreams and of new tomorrows, of yesterday and its dark despair. We've had our share of love and sorrow, and now we part as friends who care. So here's to you and our time together. I'll share with you a parting glass, and I'll bid adieu with some smiles and laughter. Our time apart will be short and pass. A long, long road it lies before me, and fate will take me where it will. But through the valleys and over mountains I'll not forget, but remember you still. So here's to you and our time together. I'll share with you a parting glass, and I'll bid adieu with some smiles and laughter. Our time apart will be short and pass. Our time apart will be short and pass.
Hello, I'm Eve Telford and I live in Cove, County Cork. This is one of my own protest songs, River of Revolution. Who is that boy with the scarred eyes? He's just another victim of wartime. He lost his family and his tiny home, and he's forgotten by the world. The soldiers who murdered his family are revered as heroes here. Who is that girl in the tight cell? She spoke up for those in Guantanamo. Now she has been tortured and she could die, and she's forgotten by most of our kind. The leaders who locked her in darkness are revered by the people worldwide. But a river of revolution is flowing underground. One day it will reach the surface, holding hands and speaking loud. And this river of revolution can be seen if you try. in a peace flag flying, or the release from torture of a man who's just a child. Who is that man in the small slum? He works like a dog to feed his children. His family are starving and the baby died, and he's forgotten in our time. The owners of the nearby oil company hold parties in their mansions all night. Who is that woman on the thin raft? She's leaving her homeland of war and blood. No country will save her, and she will drown, and she's forgotten by the people around. The leaders who chose not to save her are worshipped on TV screens. But a river of revolution is flowing underground. One day it will reach the surface, holding hands and a speaking loud. And this river of revolution can be seen if you try, in a peace flag flying, or the release from torture of a man who's just a child, of a man who sometimes smiled.
You know, when the idea of this concert first came up, the very first musician to say, "I'm in," enthusiastically, was my old friend and musical colleague for many decades, the wonderful Jimmy Keane from Chicago. Jimmy is the master of the stomach Steinway, the piano accordion, and has been All-Ireland champion on that instrument on numerous occasions. Jimmy played a very moving lament for George Floyd and Eric Garner, and intersperses the music with memorable quotes from prominent Americans from our time, African Americans and some who are not. Jimmy Keane.
Hello everyone, I'm Joni Madden, and I'm coming to you from my home in Yonkers, New York. And I'm honored to take part in this concert today and show my solidarity for all my black and my brown brothers and sisters. I have to say, the one thing I have always loved about Irish music is that people from all walks of life and ethnic groups have all come to this music for some reason, and everyone is welcome at the session. And I've invited a couple of great friends of mine to play, join me in a couple of reels that I composed. Gabriel Donoghue is on piano. Gabe is all the way from Athenryan, County Galway, and now makes his home in Philadelphia. And also have the great Josh Dukes, all the way from Washington, D.C. area, and an All-Ireland champion. And Josh is an African-American. On percussion, I've invited Emmeline Rivera, who's played on a number of my CDs. And Emmeline is a Puerto Rican American, makes his home now in New Jersey. And also the wonderful Joe Dwyer, all the way from Brooklyn, New York. And Joe is an Indian Irish American and amazing dancer and a student of the great Donnie Golden. I hope this concert brings us a bit of healing and brings awareness to social injustices that should never, ever happen again, what happened to George Floyd and his murder. I also want to say I do stand with my blue brothers and sisters, and I feel that they deserve our admiration and respect. Don't let the actions of a few bad apples ruin the reputation of a police force that get up out of bed every day and go to work and put their lives on the line to protect all of us. Anyway, folks, thanks for letting me be a part of this. And I hope this horrible stain in our history is never repeated. I hope we learn from it, and I hope we grow from it, and we come out better and more aware and more decent towards our fellow citizens. We should never be judged by the pigment of our skin. We should be judged by our character. Thank you very much, and peace, everybody.
3, 4.
Hello, my name is James Keane. I'm originally from Dublin, Ireland. I've been stateside now for the last 52 years and I live in Queens, New York. Here are a few personal thoughts. We shouldn't have to wait for a black man to die in order to show solidarity with our Native American, black and brown brothers and sisters. We are not going to find a total solution to racism in a few weeks, but for people to succeed, give them the tools and resources they need. Lowering the cost of healthcare, making college more affordable, fighting income inequality, and by making it so that our black brothers and sisters make ends meet by working one job. In solidarity with those thoughts, I'm going to play a couple of tunes for you. The first one is called Shreve Russell, and the second one is Old Tipperary.
I grew up in Ireland at a time when the police force were unarmed, and still to this day they are unarmed. The Gardaí Síochána, the custodians of the peace in the Irish language. And similarly, our neighbouring countries, Scotland, England, Wales, choose to go with unarmed police. It was quite a shock when I came to America 47 years ago and encountered the realities of a gun culture. And I'll never forget the day that I was first stopped while driving by the police, and I pulled over and the squad car pulled over behind me. And the officer got out and walked slowly to my car, and I lowered the window, and suddenly there was a gun 1 foot from my head. I found it positively chilling. And to this day, after all these decades, I still find it chilling when that happens. I cannot even begin to imagine what it's like for my brown and black brothers and sisters when they're similarly stopped. I'm going to read you a poem, and this was written by a person who lived in Philadelphia, as I did myself for 28 years. His name is Ross Gay. He got his PhD from Temple University, not too far away from Germantown, where I lived for most of those years. And here's a poem he wrote called Pulled Over in Short Hills, New Jersey, 8 a.m. It's the shivering. When rage grows hot as an army of red ants and forces the mind to quiet the body, the quakes emerge. Sometimes just the knees, but at worst through the hips, chest, neck, until like a virus, slipping inside the lungs and pulse, every ounce of strength tapped to squeeze words from my taut lips. His eyes scanning my car's insides, my eyes, my license. And as I answer the questions 3, 4, 5 times, my jaw tight as a vice, his hand massaging the gun butt, I imagine things I don't want to, and inside beg this to end before the shiver catches my hands and he sees and something happens. I'd like to read another poem written by Ross Gay, and this is about Eric Garner. And as many of us know, Eric Garner died in a chokehold. He was asphyxiated by a member of the NYPD on July the 17th, 2014. His alleged crime was selling single cigarettes. And during the course of his death, he shouted 11 times, "I can't breathe." His death was ruled a homicide. And despite that, he was acquitted. And it took the NYPD 5 years to dismiss him from the force. A small needful fact is that Eric Garner worked for some time for the Parks and Recreation Horticulture Department, which means perhaps that with his large hands, perhaps in all likelihood, he put gently into the earth some plants, which most likely, some of them, in all likelihood, continue to grow, continue to do what such plants do, like house and feed small and necessary creatures, like being pleasant to touch and smell, like converting sunlight into food, like making it easier for us to breathe.
A need of the neck is something you can't forget when you see it once. They bullet while running, did they do it just for fun? I've got a hunch. Well, it's the same old story. You would have thought we moved along. Now everybody points the finger saying, which side are you on? Is it the side of judgment with the eye eyes of God staring you down hard. With the sight of love, Martin Luther only came so far. Is it the sight of JFK, who saw the broken cogs and made the wheel? Whatever side you're on, don't let the devil make the deal. Riots on the street, I'm feeling like I've seen all this before. Buildings burning down, but the one who wears the crown does nothing more. They're instigating enemies, turning every friend to foe. There's so many ways of thinking, which way will you go? Is it the side of judgment with the eyes of God staring you down hard? Is it the side of love? Martin Luther only came so far. Is it the side of JFK, who saw all the broken cogs and made the wheel? Whatever side you're on, don't let the devil make the deal. To all those blinded by privilege, brainwashed into thinking nothing's wrong, and those hearts filled with hatred, knowing nothing's changed for far too long. Well, now has come the time to look and see just who you are. Yes, it's history in the making. We say you did your part. Are you on the side of judgment with the eyes of God staring you down hard? Are you on the side of love? Martin Luther only came so far. Are you on the side of JFK, who saw all the broken cogs and made this real? Whatever side you're on, don't let the devil make the deal. Yeah, whatever side you're on, don't let the devil make the deal.
I'm Kieran Jordan in Boston, Massachusetts, sharing my voice and my dance in solidarity with Black lives and for racial justice and equality in the US and around the world. In this dance, I'll be joined by my friends Matt and Shannon Heaton, playing the Golden Castle hornpipe as a slow air, a lament. As we live with the global threat of coronavirus, a virus that causes respiratory illness, as we hear George Floyd's tragic last words, "I can't breathe," now a cry for global change. In this dance, I invite you to breathe with me.
Good evening, folks. Welcome. My name is Donny Carroll, and I've been singing for since the mid-60s, singing folk music and stuff like that. And it's nice to be a part of this here tonight, this program. When I started singing way back then, I suppose I just sang really for the sake of singing. I enjoyed singing, you know, that effort that comes out of you. But, you know, it wasn't that important really, like what I was singing about. I just wanted to sing. But it being the 60s, lots of events were happening at the time, and notably like the war in Vietnam, civil rights, troubles in Ireland, anti-apartheid, you know, I could go on. And around that time, of course, the folk scene came into the homes of most people. Because lots of songs were written by the folk musicians at that time. And, you know, one of the songs that was written around that time was a song written by Bob Dylan called The Times They Are Changing. So that's the song that I'm going to sing right now. So I hope you enjoy it. Come gather around, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have flown, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If the time to you is worth saving, then you better stop swimming or sink like a stone, for the times they are changing. Come writers and critics who prophesize with your pen, and keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still a spin, and there's no telling who that it's naming. For the loser now will be later to win, for the times they are changing. Come senators, congressmen, please see the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall, for he that gets hurt will be he who will stall. There's a battle outside and it's raging. It'll soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the times they are changing. Come mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. Your old road is rapidly aging. Please get out of the new one if you can lend your hand, for the times they are changing. The line it is drawn and the course it is cast. The slow one now will later be last, at the present now will later be past. The order is rapidly fading, and the first one now will later be last, for the times they are changing.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, They sang this song, the City Council of Minneapolis, when they addressed the protesters. They sang this song when they wheeled George Floyd's body into the funeral home. They sang it as the family marched out of the church. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. But did you know that that song was written by an Irishman by the name of John Newton in 1779? Newton was a strange man. He was born in County Donegal in Ireland, and he was a slave runner, which meant that he carried slaves on his ship illegally from the port of Sale to the market. And in one cargo transfer, he came upon a storm. Now, according to the story, the ship which John Newton was on was tossed by the waves, and the enslaved in the bow of the ship with their chains rocking against, he could hear their moaning and their wailing, save me, save me. And the ship crashed against the rocks and the boards and was thrown up into splinters, and John Newton himself was thrown overboard, and he thought he was going to drown. Well, there was an enslaved man whose chains on the side of the ship actually saved his life, because that piece of wood that he was chained to became a raft. And he was floating by, and he heard John Newton wailing and crying out for help in the brine and the tossing water. And he reached down and he pulled John Newton up out of the water and onto that board, and he saved John Newton's life that day. Newton, the slaver from Donegal, was transformed in that experience. He became an Anglican priest in the Church of England, and he became an abolitionist. And he wrote Amazing Grace in 1779 as a Christmas sermon to speak about how blind he was to another man's servitude, but how that man knew that the sins of the father should not fall upon the son. And he saved John Newton so that John Newton might be raised up and join the abolitionists and the anti-slavery cause. But you know what? It's ironic about fate, because John Newton later in his life actually became blind. And that man who he saved, that man who saved him, became his guide and his eyes. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Through many a dangerous toils and snares, I have already come. 'Twas grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. I hope you're singing with me, because Amazing Grace, which was adopted by the Southern Baptist Church in 1860, became a folk song by 1920 and was picked up by the Civil Rights Movement in 1960 and the folk movement in the 60s and the 70s, and today it is sung across the world and translated into 88 languages. It has become a song to the masses that grace is our glue for solidarity. Grace is our hope for the future. It will take grace for us to overcome this pandemic period. A pandemic of health, a pandemic of economy, pandemic racism and suppression, pandemic dispute over justice, equality, and parity. I hope that we can knit ourselves together like a crazy quilt and that we can apply grace to this situation. So every time you hum Amazing Grace, think of John Newton and think of fate and providence saving him from himself. Think of the grace of that man who could have, should have, and would have let him drown had he not believed, had he not had a heart, had he not had humanity.
Hi everyone, I'm Haley Richardson. I'm from North Carolina. First and foremost, I want to thank Mick for putting this whole thing together and asking me to be a part of it. Really honored to be among so many fantastic musicians who are using their voices and their instruments to show a sign of support and solidarity for the Black community at this time. Thank you to everybody who is contributing in whatever way you are, not just to this concert, but to the movement as a whole. It's a big time of education and learning for a lot of us, and it's really a privilege to learn about these things secondhand rather than experiencing them firsthand. And I'm really happy to contribute in a way that I find very near and dear to my heart, which is through music. And I think those of us who play music or just appreciate music know that it's a very powerful thing. So very happy to be a part of this, and I'm going to play something that I wrote for this specifically because I wasn't sure quite what to play, so I figured I'd just write something entirely new. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you're all staying well, and thanks so much.
My name's John Roberts. I live in upstate New York, and I'm honored to have been invited to join Irish musicians in support of our black and brown brothers in their struggle. Black Lives Matter. I sing mostly old songs. This one was written around 1850, a song of the history of Ireland. And it was printed and sold as a penny song sheet, sold on the streets of Belfast, sold on the streets of England. The copies that I've seen have been printed in England as well as in Ireland. It's a song that uses the metaphor of spinning, still in vogue today, and it's called The Wheels of the World. Come, all of you true sons of Erin, attend to these few simple lines. I'll sing you a song about spinning. 'Twas a good trade in old times. Some they spun worsted and yarn, others spun flax and spun tow. By experience now you may learn how the wheels of the world they do go. And these are the wheels of the world, my friends, you must all understand. For 300 years they've been spinning destruction all over the land. Martin Luther, he was a great spinner, and so was King Henry VIII. John Calvin, by Satan's temptations, their maxims he did imitate. Then Cranmer, he joined the new system. He swore he'd make spindles of steel. Pluto himself did assist him. Perdition was turning their wheel. And these are the wheels of the world, my friends, you must all understand. For 300 years they've been spinning destruction all over the land. William Pitt, he was a great spinner, as also was Lord Castlereagh. They spun out a union for Ireland, to England they shipped it away. Pitt spun out his existence, crossed over on Karen's old boat. Lord Castlereagh saved the distance by slitting the rim of his throat. And these are the wheels of the world, my friends, you must all understand. For 300 years they've been spinning destruction all over the land. And Napoleon was a great spinner. He freedom did always advance over deserts, high lofty mountains. He marched with the brave sons of France. But Wellington too went a spinning. His wheels they were at Waterloo. But Grouchy had never been bribed. Well, the French would have split him in two. But these are the wheels of the world, my friends, you must all understand. For 300 years they've been spinning destruction all over the land. And the factory owners are spinning, their wheels they are turning away. Now they're expecting their workers to slave 13 hours a day. They don't give a damn for the poor, they heed not their sighs nor their moans. They don't give a pin if they spin till they've spun all the flesh from their bones. And these are the wheels of the world, my friends, you must all understand. For 300 years they've been spinning destruction all over the land. And the rich, they're all famous spinners, that we are very well sure, always contriving and scheming to grind down the rights of the poor. So if you intend to go spinning, be sure that your spindles are steel. Let liberty then be your motto, and glory will turn your big wheel. And these are the wheels of the world, my friends, you must all understand. For 300 years they've been spinning destruction all over the land. Yes, these are the wheels of the world, my friends, you must all understand. For 300 years they've been spinning destruction all over the land.
This is Kyrie Best coming to you from Maplewood. Peace, love, and enjoy.
Hello, folks. This is Tony DeMarco from Brooklyn, and I'm here to play a tune for you in solidarity with the Black and Brown brothers and sisters and the situation at hand. And this is a little song called The Wind That Shakes the Barley, which has a verse in there that's very similar to their struggle right now. You can look it up on Google and check out the lyrics.
I'm Jimmy Crowley, and I'm in the town of Cove in Cork Harbour in the south of Ireland. And this is my good friend John Crone on the high string guitar. We're going to sing a song of freedom, a song called Easter Week 2016.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Easter Week 1916. I met a man in Saxville Street. Can you hear the firing down below? The sound of freedom, the GPO. Easter week 2016. A strolling down O'Connell Street, I met a man where old ghosts grin. Said, son, we'll have to rise again. For what is freedom when all is lost? An English tongue, an Irish cost, and Cromwell's brood in the media, taking good care of Britannia. Easter week 1916. They sang the wearing of the green, but now they sing the cockamus of painted fools, nefarious. Easter week 2016. Beware the new murder machine. It's spinning still that grisly mill. Irish kinship it must kill. For what is freedom when all is lost? An English tongue, an Irish cost, Cromwell's brood in the media, taking good care of Britannia. Easter week 2016. I thought I heard a young girl keen up and down Clanbrassil Street, to all the people that she'd meet. Is Michel Erde, is Noort Mochush, Nilaunach Berla, Erea Mochlush. But noble men and women too will come, my honour, to renew. For what is freedom when all is lost? An English tongue, an Irish cost, and Cromwell's brood in the media, taking good care of Britannia. 100 years ago today, brave men bled their lives away. Rebel voices, they sang and said, Tear gun Tonga, tear gun Sprit. Quisling stole my wheel away, and Irish law recedes each day. The Bundesbank, they now proclaim, and we're a province once again. For what is freedom when all is lost? An English tongue, an Irish cost, and Cromwell's brew in the media, taking good care of Britannia.
Those who died for liberty have heard the eagle scream. All the ones who died for liberty have died but for a dream. Oh, rise, 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 dark horse on the wind, for in no nation on the earth more broken dreams you'll find. The flames leaped high, reached to the sky, and seared a nation's soul. In the ashes of our broken dreams, we've lost sight of our goal. Oh, rise, 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 dark horse on the wind, and help our hearts seek Roisin, her soul again to find. Now charlatans, they wear dead men's shoes and rattle dead man's bones. The dust has settled on their tombs. They've sold their very stones. Oh, rise, 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 dark horse on the wind, for in no nation on the earth more Pharisees you'll find. In grief and hate, our motherland, her dragon's teeth have sown, and the warriors rise from the earth for to maim and kill their own. Oh, rise, 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 dark horse in our nation of the blind.
Hi, I'm Daniel Neely, this is Shay Coyle, and this is Eugene Bender. We're here to play a few tunes in solidarity with our Black, Indigenous, and people of color comrades who have lived an historically complex existence and whose struggle we're beginning to better understand now. We're here to play, we're here to listen, and we're here to learn how to become better people. We're going to play 3 tunes today. The first one is an air for a song called Wheels of the World. The second is called Lilies in the Field, and the third is called Craig's Pipes.
Hi, I'm Jake James from New York City. I hope everyone's staying safe. And I thought I would quickly repeat one of President Obama's favorite Martin Luther King quotes. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice.
After I came to America in 1973, I lived in Philadelphia for the next 30 years, and 28 of those years I spent in Germantown, an overwhelmingly African-American part of the city. And I saw the daily sight of white motorists rolling up the windows in their cars and locking the doors when they were driving through the hood. I became familiar with the daily indignities suffered by young black men, how when they went to a supermarket they were often followed around by security guards observing their every movement. Their mothers would tell them always to be sure and get a receipt for everything they bought and always have ID with them wherever they went. The list of daily indignities went on and on. I must say I enjoyed those 30 years immensely and was awed by the humour, warmth, and in particular the patience and tolerance of my African-American neighbours. In the early 1990s, I made my first trip to Montserrat, which is often known as the Emerald Isle of the Caribbean, and I was fascinated about that. I was curious about the Irish identity that the island was known for in general. And then when I went, I learned that most of the people there had Irish names and that we Irish had become slave owners there after originally being transplanted forcibly to the West Indies as indentured servants as far back as the 17th century. I learned that the so-called Black Irish of Montserrat were mostly not Irish at all, but African Caribbean people who had taken their Irish names from their masters because they had no English names of their own. There are those recently who, for their own reasons, have equated the suffering of the Irish transplanted by the likes of Oliver Cromwell to the Caribbean for indentured servitude to the suffering of Africans in slavery. But while we may have suffered the same indignities and sufferings, only our labour was sold, never our bodies. In slavery, as we know, the whole body and progeny of the body became the property of the slave owner. That never happened to us. During my many visits to Montserrat, I met the distinguished historian Howard Fergus, and he makes this point as well. He wrote this book, The History of the Island of Montserrat, and I'd like to quote from him on the chapter that is titled Irish and African Emancipation. There was really no comparison between the horrors of black slavery and the discrimination against Irish Catholics in Montserrat, but both groups in their different ways hankered after freedom. The slaves needed basic personal liberty, while the Irish always struggled for civil and political equality with other whites. The latter achieved their goal 6 years before emancipation, but this was no more the fruit of human kindness than was emancipation purely the result of humanitarian action. Freedom. We both longed and still long for freedom and social justice, basically an even playing field for all. We Irish Americans of all people have absolutely no right whatever to be racist at any time. We must not forget that not too long ago, we newly arrived Irish, along with African Americans, were considered by the American establishment, the wealthy and the powerful, as barely human, in fact, as subhuman. Irish Americans, of course, are now part of our privileged establishment in the United States, but we must never cease to remember the struggle our forebears went through when they arrived in the land of liberty. One of the ways that struggle is documented has always been through our songs. I'm going to sing one of the many songs from our tradition on the negative images we had to face then, uncannily similar to those images of black and brown minorities that proliferate today. It is called Do Me Justice, and I can thank the wonderful Len Graham from County Antrim for first drawing this song to my attention. And joining me for this song, all the way from Italy, is the wonderful Athena Turgis.
Hello everyone, Athena Turgis here in Tuscany, Central Italy, together with all our sisters and brothers worldwide, united in our stand against racial discrimination and oppression. Over the last 20 years, I've been so fortunate to join Dr. Mick Moloney and the Greenfields of America in celebrating unique ethnic cultures and traditional art forms in many parts of the world. What strikes me the most while exploring cultural diversity is how we humans at our core share the same basic values worldwide. Dignity, self-determination, security, and leisure time to spend together. These are all prerequisites for many enduring forms of cultural expression. Artists can open the windows and shed light on the soul of our cultures. We can all create opportunities to listen, understand, and appreciate fellow human beings. I invite you all to open your windows with us and sing, play, or shout until our collective voices are heard.
Well, here I am from Donegal, and I'm most discontented, for to see the way we're all put down and highly represented. For you see, it is a general rule to make part of the neighbour a fool. But never mind, we'll play it cool, and we'll stand up for old Ireland. Do me justice, treat me fair, and I'll not be discontented, and I'll not be laughed at anywhere, but highly represented. Now Mr. Punch in his literature, he treats us very badly, and when he draws his caricatures, he presents us very sadly. With crooked limbs and villainous face, he thus depicts the Irish race. We think it is a sad disgrace, and we say so in old Ireland. Do me justice, treat me fair, and I'll not be discontented, and I'll not be laughed at anywhere, but highly represented. When on the stage I do appear with a thumping big shillelagh and a ragged coat and tattered clothes, you'd think I'd come out gaily. With not a word of common sense, they don't care that they give offence, but they carry on at pants expense. Just let them come to Ireland. Do me justice, treat me fair, and I'll not be discontented, and I'll not be laughed at anywhere, but highly represented. They say we're dirty and lazy lot, but what's the use to grumble? For if they should enter an Irish cot, they're made welcome, though it's humble. And in public works the country round, where'er hard work is to be found, in the railway tunnels underground, you'll find the boys from Ireland. Do me justice, treat me fair, and I'll not be discontented, and I'll not be laughed at anywhere, but highly represented. Tis very true, I like a glass of porter or of whiskey, and I'm partial to a pretty lass, she'd make me feel quite frisky. I am very quiet when left alone, but I'll do what I like with what's me own. And woe be to the foes of home that would dare to run down Ireland. Do me justice, treat me fair, and I'll not be discontented, and I'll not be laughed at anywhere, but highly represented.
We are the McConaughey's here. I'm Billy McConaughey, my son Sean, and this is Mikey. We all play the Irish accordion, and we're going to play two reels from you that I learned these couple of reels from the Old Bay Cayley Band. It was the second Cayley Band in the Baltimore, Washington area. And in my opinion, it's the best scale again. It's still really good. And the first tune is a composition of the great Chris Droney from County Clare. And the second one was found by Jim Egan, one of the great fiddle players here. And he lives down in Hamilton, right? Yeah. In Baltimore. And what are the names of the two tunes, John?
They're called The Bell Harbor and To the Lasses of St. Mary's.
Okay. So have fun.
Hi all, my name is Michelle Mulcahy and I'm joining you from Limerick in the southwest of Ireland tonight. As part of the Infinite Hope concert tonight, I would like to play a piece of music for you on the Irish harp. And this piece I composed a couple of years ago, which is called the Corrin March. And I wrote this march, which is very much symbolic of hope after meeting the Corrin community in Myanmar, who suffered decades of social injustice and oppression. And so tonight I would like to play this march, which is symbolic of hope, hope for this freedom from oppression and hope for social justice. And I stand with you all in solidarity tonight through one of the most powerful communicators of all, which is music.
My name is Tommy Sands and I'm coming to you from Rostrevor in County Down, and I'm delighted to be taking part in this great event. Thank you, Mick Moloney, for inviting me along with great friends and musicians, wonderful musicians from all arts and parts and scatterments around the world. Just outside my house here is a little pier, and from there people sailed for America. Many never came back. Some died of homesickness. Being Irish, we know about immigration, forced immigration, about discrimination and inequality. And being Irish, not to identify with that in the members of our own human family is not to be Irish at all. This is a song I wrote about that. I can't breathe, the air is leaving me. I can't breathe, please set me free. I can't breathe, the air is leaving me. Please, 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 I can't breathe. His forefathers' chains remain on the nation. His forefathers' pay was to hang from a tree, calling for justice, crying out for mercy, praying that the children might be free. I can't breathe, air, it is leaving me. I can't breathe, please set me free. I can't breathe, air, it is leaving me. Please, 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 I can't breathe. Poisoning the air with the shackling of conscience, bending a Bible to justify greed, poisoning the air with the paradise of silence, so not to hear nor heed. I can't breathe, air, it is leaving me. I can't breathe, please set me free. I can't breathe, air, it is leaving me. Please, 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 I can't breathe. You come from the shore of shadow and sorrow, and should We ignore the pain and the plea of a sister, a brother, just another shade of color. How can we breathe free? How can we be free? They wouldn't hear your music and the pull your paintings down. They wouldn't read your writing and the band you from the town. But they couldn't stop your dream and a victory you've won. For you sowed the seeds of freedom, your daughters, your sons. Your weary smile, it proudly hides the chain marks on your hands. We bravely strive to realize the rights of everyone. And though your body's bent and low, a victory you've won. For you sowed the seeds of justice, your daughters and your sons. Your daughters and your sons. Your daughters and your sons. You sowed the seeds of justice, your daughters and your sons. Thank you very much.
Well, we have nearly come to the end of our concert, and thank you all for watching and listening. Thanks to all my fellow performers who contributed so readily and so unselfishly to making this happen. You have all shown most eloquently that you are on the right side of history. Thanks also to Dan Neely for his always thoughtful and perceptive suggestions, and to the gifted journalist Earl Hitchner, who made me aware of the powerful writings of African-American poet Ross Gay. It was also Earl, writing in an Irish-American newspaper many years ago, who called all of us traditional musicians, singers and dancers an extended family. And we are indeed exactly that, and now very much a global family. As in all families, family members have a range of often differing opinions, but we are all united in our support of our black and brown brothers and sisters in their ongoing struggle for social justice and human rights and their battle with systemic racism. Here's my opinion. The first major step in this struggle for those of us who are American citizens is to go to the polls on November and vote out of office every public representative who does not believe in social justice, human rights, and freedom from oppression for all. This applies at every level: local, county, state, the Senate, Congress, and of course, President. Voting our deranged president out of office will not be enough. The accomplices who have enabled him over the past 4 years will have to go as well. I am optimistic enough to believe that Americans at this moment, with so many people of conscience of all ages and ethnicities united in purpose, has turned a pivotal corner and is ready for major change. I hope that our strength and unity as artists can, in however small a measure, help in making this change happen. I will now hand over to Leni Sloan for his final comments, and the brilliant and magnificent Seamus Egan to close out Infinite Hope. Vote, vote, vote.
This is where I came in the movie. I was a hippie peacenik turned rebel rouser. My family sent me to Selma and to Montgomery to march, my first march as only a 13-year-old with Martin Luther King. I rioted after the Democratic Convention in 1968, and I revolted after Martin Luther King was shot, and I saw Philadelphia burn, and I picketed after the move when the police allowed Philadelphia to be burned down. And I believed in Martin Luther King's dream. I never dreamt that we would be going through this again. So I leave you with these words from the poet Maya Angelou, from her poem, "And Still I Rise." You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod on me in the very dirt, but still like dust I rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hope springs high, still I rise. Did you want me to be broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awfully hard, 'cause I laugh like I got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still like air I rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come like a surprise that I dance like I got diamonds in the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame I rise. Up from the past that rooted in pain I rise. I am black ocean leaping and wide, wailing and swailing I bear in the tides, leaving behind nights of terror and fear. I rise into a daybreak that's wondrously clear. I rise, bringing the gifts of my ancestors gave. I rise. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise. I rise. I rise. Rise up, George Floyd, to meet your mama. Rise up, world, and protest his death. Rise up, pilgrims and soldiers of peace. Rise, rise, rise.
Hello, my name is Seamus Egan. I'm here in Vermont in the United States of America. It's an honor to be part of this gathering with my fellow Irish artists as we stand in solidarity with our Black and Brown and LGBTQ brothers and sisters. This is a time of introspection. It's a time to examine our role in the system that has brought us to this place. It's a time to reflect on the privileges that we've accrued as a result of that system. But it's also a time of action. Whatever we thought we knew, we know more now, and we can never not know again. The work will be difficult, the work will take time, but it's work that we must do to end this scourge of racism. I'm going to play a slow air for you, and I'd like to play it in memory of all those who have lost their lives to police brutality and to racism. It's a tune called An Buachail Dubh. Thanks for listening.